play college softball, play professional baseball, be a business owner, run a podcast. It takes what it takes. And until you're willing to commit that, you're never going to get anything for it.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I got an extra special treat joining me in the Hit Lab today, all the way from Atlanta. Hot Atlanta is in the Hit Lab today, the ATL, baby. Check it out. Let me give this cat a proper introduction here, right? So he's a former professional baseball player. He's a board member of the Cherokee County School Board. He was in the movie 42, starring Chadwick Boseman. It was about Jackie Robinson. He's the owner of Titans Sports Academy, Top Velocity Kennesaw, and B&B Custom Creations. The man himself, Chance Beam, is in the building. Chance, how we doing, baby?
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm excited about being here. I remember meeting Nick when he was just Nick, not Nick Hyder. So, it's been a long time knowing each other. It's an honor to be here and excited about what we can do today.
First hit of the day right there,
Boom.
Baby. Batting 1,000.
Here we go. It's always nice to get that first knock right out of the gate. Makes you feel better about yourself.
Let's go. I couldn't agree more. That's why I'm talking to my son about that all the time. Dude, just get that first knock out of the way. Lay down a bunt and take the pressure off. You know what I mean?
Go to the plate ready to hit.
Chance, I'm really excited about doing this. Like you mentioned before, I've known you for 15, 20 years now, if not longer. And businessman to businessman, I'm a fan, dude. It's impressive. It's really, really impressive. And there is something that is on everything that you touch, whether it's your players talking about it, or it's on walls and buildings, or on shirts, T-shirts, or hats, or anything else. It's the number 86,400.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So it's one of those things that's kind of taken on a life of its own. So as a small kid, coming through high school, going through college, even younger than that, grade school, wasn't the biggest, wasn't the strongest, wasn't the fastest, definitely wasn't the smartest, wasn't the best looking guy in class. And so you kind of start to have this thing about you, and you kind of go, well, I don't have everything going my way, but my core principle that I truly believe in is that all the heroes in life, all the heroes and champions in life have not been already been chosen, and you're not it. I refute that basic understanding. And so through that, you start to kind of go like, and I'm like, well, I don't have all these attributes. And then look at all these guys and heroes. They're tall, they're good looking, they're stronger, they're faster. And I'm like, well, how am I going to compete with those guys? And the one thing that I figured out that I had the same as everybody else was the number of seconds in a day. The time that I had treated me and everybody else the same. So, then you start to kind of, what does that measure, how does that kind of morph into? The 86,400 kind of came from that. And it's really kind of been my mantra looking back over my life of, as you read my intro, I kind of think I'm a normal guy, just like everybody else that's watching. But the only thing that's maybe different about me, two things I would say is different is I don't have an off switch. People always look at like these great, NFL players, people that are great coaches or whatever, and they are way smarter than I'll ever be. But everybody always tries to say, what do they have that they don't have? I think one of the things that I know that I probably have that I know that, people that work with me is like, I don't have an off switch. You text me at 2:00 in the morning, you're probably going to get a response. Holidays, I love my family, my wife, my daughter here today. It's the epicenter of everything that I do, but I just don't have an off switch. So that's where 86,400 kind of plays into everything that I do. And I think that it correlates very well. And all of the things that I do is that, it doesn't matter if you're the biggest, the littlest, everything, just keep going.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. So, all right. So you got Titan Sports Academy. We're going to talk about all these today, folks. Titan Sports Academy, Top Velocity Kennesaw, B&B Custom Creations. All right. So obviously, a man of your intelligence, those are all working together, right? So what's like, how did like, it seems like three totally different things. How do they kind of come together? Like, what are you actually about?
Let's see. Let me how do I put this? I build brands that win, lead, and want to leave a legacy in everything that I touch.
I get it now. That makes sense.
Right,
okay.
Right. And so, and one of the things I've said to people are, I firmly believe that I want to plant trees that I'll never stand in the shade of.
Oh, That's another good one. So folks, check it out. These are some of the companies that that he represents or has partnered with or works with, right? So Rawlings, Easton, Lululemon, Oakley, Under Armour, just to name a few. All right, that you are doing business with through your three establishments, right? So it's kind of unbelievable when you think about it. Those are names that everybody knows. Like when you hear that somebody else say that, like it's got to be kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There are certain things you do just kind of look over a surreal life of. Again, when you're caught up in that 86,400, it's a constant tone. And then when I'm paying attention and we talk about winning, what's important now and staying in that moment, you sometimes lose light of all the things that you're kind of involved with. And, I know one of the things I've seen on your podcast is like, be careful what you ask for, because when you wish for it, all you did want to eat. I know I messed up the phrase there a little bit, but we now come across all these things that stress us out, but back 10 years ago, we would have given anything to have that person's life, and now you have it. And so when you say those things, it's a bit surreal. It's humbling, but it's incredible relationships we have with, and again, surrounded by incredible people.
All right. So I mentioned, cause I want to talk about all the biz that you got going on and everything, but like I mentioned that you were in the movie 42 with Chadwick Boseman, right? So, which is, I don't think it's on enough of the top 10 greatest baseball movie lists of all time. It's a really good movie.
It's a great movie. It really is.
And who the actors in that movie were, who are some of the big ones in that?
So obviously you got Harrison Ford, Chadwick Boseman. You've got a number of just incredible actors. And what I would say is this incredible people. So if you are watching that movie, you go back and watch it, know that the people that are associated with that movie, when we made that movie, they were fully invested in making sure that we paid Jackie Robinson the correct homage, I guess is the right word, but they wanted it to be so real. So in one of the scenes in the movie, it's a really interesting story to kind of go off on a tangent here, but there's a scene in the movie where the manager of the opposing team goes on like a racial rant, like in a really, really tough, in a bad way. And as we were explaining earlier, when they film these things, you have to film it 9, 10, 11, 12 times from every single angle. Yeah. So he's having to go on this rant over and over and over, probably 150 times throughout the day. The night before, we're kind of hanging out in the lobby. And he's kind of rehearsing it, and he's like, "Hey, I got to go up there and remember my lines." And he was like, "My parents are coming tomorrow." And I was like, "Hey, well, that's awesome. Parents get to see you act." And he's like, "It's the first time they've ever seen me act, and I got to do this whole scene." And he was almost embarrassed by it. Obviously, it's if you've seen the movie, it's a pretty vital role in that movie and a pivotal moment in the movie. But he was taking it very heavy. And everybody that I can say in retrospect of watching the movie and how it was made, everybody was on edge all day, every day, because they wanted to make sure that we could not mess up this movie. It was one of those things where you only get to do the Jackie Robinson story once and do it right. And if you don't do it right, you're going to get crucified. So it was really fun watching people do things that I'd never been a part of, but really see them locked in and be in the moment. It was pretty cool.
You're in quite a few scenes, but there's one scene for sure where it's unmistakable that it's you, because you're the catcher while Jackie's hitting. He hits a home run, and literally, like, the camera zooms in on you. Just you take off that catcher's mask, and there's Chance, baby.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So, interesting thing about that scene, that was the very first day of filming of the entire movie. So the great
break you in.
Oh softly. My gosh! So the director of the special effects, he was a guy that looked like Larry Zonka, the running back for the Miami Dolphins way back in the day. Big, huge, burly guy, and he was intense. So imagine we're in Birmingham, Alabama, at that old stadium. I forget the name of it, but this old stadium.
Ooh, Rickwood.
Yeah, we're at Rickwood. So we're at Rickwood, and it's the very first day. So talk about crazy. Your call time's like 5:09 a.m. You wake up, you go to the stadium, they get there, and then they're cutting your hair and they're making sure that you look like your pictures and all the stuff. And every day you got to look the exact same. So we get there. we get out there, and it's the very first day. There's 15,000 extras in the stands.
Good
that first
grief.
day. I mean, it was packed. It was mayhem. So that first day, I'm the catcher. Well, I'm taller than the actor Chadwick Boseman. So it was like, do not stand up. Make sure you go to your knees when you throw a ball back to the pitcher. So the scene that you're referring to is where his wife in the movies figures out that she's pregnant. She walks from the bathroom and she's walking up the walkway. As she's walking up the walkway, Chadwick or Jackie's at the plate. I'm the catcher and I'm throwing the ball back. So when they film the scene, it's her walking up the walkway. The crowd is coming nuts because, Jackie's coming to the plate. I throw the ball back to mom. Real simple. The problem is that when you film a movie, they say, bring the crowd up, and they are like erupting there. You can't hear myself think. There's all this stuff going on, and it feels like a very, very long time. And he says, all right, so the crowd will come up. I'll say action. You throw the ball back to plate. I'm like, any idiot can do that. I'm qualified to do that. I got this. So the crowd comes up. I mean, it's roaring. You could not hear a word. And so it's like awkwardly long time. I've not heard anything. I was like, he had to say action. I just fall down on my knees, throw the ball back. Cut, everybody. I mean, and so the action director comes over. I've never been GD'd more in my entire baseball career than I was on day one.
Wow.
And so he was like, dadgummit, you got to wait to this. And one of the actors actually came to my defense. He was like, hey, we can't hear anything off this. He's like, I'll give him like a wink and a nod off set. I'm off camera. You won't see me. And so he came to my defense that day. So I was thankful for the Actors Guild, the actors, and those guys that day that came to my defense. But it was a great day. But to everybody's testament, everybody was on edge that day because they wanted to make sure that we did it right. But it was a pretty cool experience.
Well, Chance Beam has his own IMDb link. That's cool. That's cool. So Chadwick Boseman, the late great Chadwick Boseman. This was before. So the movie came out in 2013. So you were shooting this probably 10, 11, something like that. Yeah. So this is before he became a superhero. This is before Black Panther, before all that stuff. So you got any cool stories about Chadwick?
So the funny thing is, I knew Nick before he was Nick, and I knew Chadwick when he was still Chad.
Yeah.
He's from Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg area, South Carolina. And so just the night before, very first night I get to the hotel, we're in Birmingham. That next day we filmed that scene I was just talking about. In the lobby, I'd known him from kind of what we were calling spring training before the movie was started to be built, and, got to know him a little bit. So that very first night, again, I'm new to this whole thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just happy that I'm in a movie and this is kind of cool. And so he's down at the bar and I just kind of pull up a stool next to him. Hey man, how's it going? He's like, pretty nervous. Dude, you got the job. You're the guy. You are Jackie Robinson. You this has got to be exciting. He's like, man, this is, nervous about it. And obviously, again, to the point where they just really, the gravity of the moment of wanted to really make sure that they represented Jackie well. And he was certainly better than that one. And I felt like that I was lucky enough to kind of give Chadwick Boseman a pep talk before he was really Chadwick Boseman. So it was pretty cool.
Folks, we're hanging out with Chance Beam, the owner of Titan Sports Academy, Top Velocity Kennesaw, and B&B Custom Creations. Check him out online at titansnation.net and on Instagram at Titan Sports Academy and at Top Velocity Kennesaw. All right. So, Chance, when I first met you, it was back in like 2010-ish. I was a couple years out of baseball trying to figure out what I'm doing in life. Dad was kind enough to give me some work over at Old Sandlot.
Yeah.
And we were doing a lot of stuff with you guys in the Atlanta area. And shortly after that, Titans Baseball Academy was founded.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of like the nucleus, the foundation of everything you got going on today. Right. So tell me a little bit of story about Titans. When was it? When did you find it?
So I go back just a little bit further. So I had played professionally, got my master's degree. I was lucky enough to be at University in Tennessee in 2001. Went to Omaha. College World Series, again, surreal moment, just huge event. Lucky to be part of. We had 13 guys get drafted off one team, just nuts. We were so talented. Finished third in the country. So, moved to Atlanta, and a buddy of mine, his name's Miles Shota. He used to be the agent for closer for the Braves.
Was it Rocker?
No, it was Smoltz, John Smoltz.
Got it.
So John Smoltz was his agent. Miles was, and so I'd known him through the baseball world and got to meet John a couple times. Very nice guy, and he calls me and he goes, "Hey, I've got this kids team." He knew that I coached at Tennessee. He said, "Hey, I got this kids team over at East Cobb. Would you want to coach for it?" I'll never forget this moment as long as I live. I said, "Miles, I don't want to coach kids baseball. Be careful when you say never will I ever. Be careful. You hear me? Don't ever say never will I ever, because it was one of those moments you say never will I ever. And here I am, fast forward, 22 years later, we have 450 some odd families. We've had 1,200 kids go on and play college professional baseball. All the accolades after hearing that stuff makes me want to take a nap. But that's kind of where it started. So he asked me to come over. I was coaching East Cobb. I was there for 10 years, had just a wonderful experience, and kind of got to the place where it was probably kind of time for us to, maybe do our own thing. And so in 2013, we broke off from East Cobb due to Titan Sports Academy and kind of been on our own ever since. And, it's being an entrepreneur. It's not for the faint of heart. You're jumping into the deep end of the pool. And, a testament to my wife, God bless her. I don't think I paid myself for the first 18 months. And I think she basically came in and hit me over the head and said, "You don't pay each other. This is a hobby." And, but just from a business standpoint, went through a lot of ebb and flows, which I think we've all kind of been through from business. As we said earlier, you learn stupid tax, you do things wrong, and that's you pay stupid tax.
Yeah.
And did a lot of that early and along the way. But it's been just surrounded by incredible people and been just really blessed in a lot of ways. So,
well, it's, and I can even remember year one. You were always, you had teams represented here in Nashville at Sandlot's World Championships and everything. And I can remember you got a funny story about the blue and the orange.
Yes.
You got a funny story about the blue and the orange.
So I have a book called We Are Titans. And so what I realize is now we've been doing this 20 some odd years, and Amazon, you can find it on Amazon, Kindle as well. But the We Are Titans, I started realizing that you start to kind of get away from your core origin stories and how are we Royal and Orange? Because we're Titans, and so it looks like Cal State Fullerton. So kind of going back to my 86,400, in the 90s, Cal State Fullerton was the little engine that could. They didn't have a football team, but man, they'd play against the big dogs, UCLA, Texas, and they won national championships, incredibly successful. So when I was coaching at Tennessee in 2001, we play in the Kia Invitational at Cal State Fullerton. We were ranked top 5 in the country, and they beat us like a drum. And so fast forward to the end of that year, we actually both ended up making Omaha, going to College World Series. They were on the other side of the bracket. We didn't play them when we were there, thank goodness. But they just, the Cal State Fullerton in the 90s, those guys were just a different breed. They had a chip on their shoulder, have bat, glove, will travel, take on anybody, don't care who you are. And so they had this kind of mantra about them. So when I got into travel baseball world, I was at East Cobb, everybody's the Yankees, the Braves, the Astros, and those are all your major league teams. I just really, when I got into pro baseball, I felt disconnected, it's just a different world, pro baseball and college baseball, different things. So I love my experience in college baseball, that camaraderie, that just, hey, we're on the team, we're going to dig a big hole and go to war together kind of thing. So I didn't want to be a professional team. I want to be a college team. So you would laugh is that there were 2 teams that I came down to, and it was the Titans or the Shockers, Wichita State Shockers.
Yep.
And I honestly wanted to be the Shockers because I was going to be a disruptor. And Gary, who ran East Cobb at the time, and he said, "Well, if you do the Shockers, that brown is going to be like custom everything." And I was like, "All right, well, I'll be the Titans." And it's Cal State Fullerton. I remember like yesterday, I had a navy shirt on, and I remember I want to blue like this, and I don't want to be Texas orange because Gary and his teams are the Astros, and so they were like that Texas orange. I'll just be like the regular orange. And he was like, "Okay." I guess he writes blue and orange. So that was in like November. You fast forward to like April. Now, mind you, I told you I coached at University of Tennessee. So in April, I've opened the boxes, pulling them back, excited. I've got pinstripe pants, because back then, pinstripes, that's normal. That's your custom uniform. Pinstripes day, that's a different thing. So I'm pulling open my uniforms, And I pull open that box and I see white pants with royal blue pinstripe. I thought my head was going to explode because if you're a Tennessee guy, royal and orange would emulate a team south of the border of Georgia that would just so happen to be Florida. Tennessee, and at the time, Tennessee and Florida, you can't have Florida colors and be a true Tennessee fan.
That's right.
So my head exploded. So over the last 22 years, I've convinced myself that is now Titans colors, royal and orange. And so in the book, we talk about how we came up with royal and orange and that whole story. So it's kind of been a funny thing that's come full circle, and we've enjoyed it now.
Well, man, and what year was it again that Titans Baseball Academy was formed?
Well, 2003 is when we started Titans. 2013 is when we kind of broke off on our own, so you can use either of those dates.
Hi, folks. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and I just want to say a quick thank you for all of you, the millions of you tuning into the Hit Streak. If you have not already, subscribe to the Hit Streak on all digital platforms. Share your favorite episodes with your friends, your team, literally whoever needs a lift. We've built a worldwide audience of millions, and we're just getting started. Every episode, we're breaking down the playbook of top performers so that you can get to that next level too. We're literally getting the information from the people that have it to the people that need it by bringing on guests that everybody knows and some that not everybody knows yet. So again, thank you for being a part of this movement. Keep listening, keep sharing, and keep leveling up with the Hit Streak. All right, so let's just say 2013 when you truly went out on your own, 2013. So what year is this?
2025 last
2025, so that's
it's a dozen years.
12 years?
Yeah.
Dude, whether you made $1 or not, if you keep the doors open of a business for 12 years, that's impressive.
Yeah.
All right. That's what I say anyway. So,
what is that? 80, there's some crazy stat that's like 80-90% of businesses, small businesses, close in the first 5 years anyway.
100%. 100%. It truly is incredible. And the fact that not only did you find a way to feed your own family, but to feed a whole bunch of other families along the way. Yeah. But I wanted, folks, when I'm saying Titans Sports Academy, it's not just a baseball club. All right. That's what it started out as.
Sure.
But what year was it that you, I remember watching you online when you were building your field. I was like, holy cow, because we know all about that here. You know, Dad built a field in 2014 out over at Shelby Park in field number 2. It was like you've got, let's give them a lay of the land. There's that, because there's indoor, there's fields outdoors, there's the team. Tell me all about it.
So 2013, we broke off, and as I would probably say, I'm a business guy with a baseball problem. And so what I mean by that is that, if you have that version of the world, when I was at Tennessee, I got my master's degree. So I came from a mortgage and banking background. My mother, my stepdad, my sister, my uncle, my aunt, everybody's in the mortgage business. And I was in the mortgage business for a little while before getting back into the baseball world. With that being said, you just kind of look at things with that business light. So when I got into the baseball business, it's a business. You sell widgets, you sell tires, you just happen to sell baseball. And so when you start to kind of go down that path, you start to kind of dissect it with that version of the world. And, there's certain things that you just have to say, all right, here, everybody talks about, well, how much money you make? Well, it's not how much money you make, how much money you make. Not how much money you brought in. And that's a bad word when you start talking about youth baseball and stuff like that.
Sure.
But the reality is that, I want to do business with people that are successful. If they're successful, then they're going to be in a good place to be able to take care of my kid or take care of these things that go along with it. And so, being able to kind of bridge all those gaps to be able to truly, what I've found is that if I'm putting my players and those families' best interests at heart, and I'm truly giving them a quality service and really putting their best interest, then all the other stuff takes care of itself.
I just let me put the comma in the right place on my notes over here. So you 1,200 kids have gone off to play college baseball.
1,200 more
that came directly out of the Titans program. So 1,200. You say you've been up 12 years. Think about that math.
Yeah.
So you're putting 1,000 kids a year into college baseball.
100.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Good God, my math's horrible.
You didn't carry the decimal.
Yeah, that's right. I wrote it down wrong. 100 kids a year into college baseball.
And so,
dude,
to say that, and here's what I would say. we've been lucky to change people's life. I get emotional saying that.
That's awesome. This is how you know you're working with the right people. You know, it's supposed to.
Yeah. And I say that because, one, I got one sitting right out there. It's one of those 1,200. And for a long time, I would say I make comments. Excuse me.
It's all right, man. It's okay. As a matter of fact, right below you, underneath your chair, underneath that little table over there, there's some Kleenex in there. So you're all right. All right.
Yeah. But no, what I was saying is that for the 1,200 people that have kind of came in.
There you go. Pass you a little paper. I keep paper towels everywhere. No, it's awesome. This is what it's all about.
So, but the 1,200 kids that have that we've been lucky enough to be part of that process, that we've been part of. I never say that we did it for anyone because they did the heavy lifting. All we did was try to put them on the right path, tell them what to do and how to do that. And I've said, for example, we have 450 kids in the program. That means I got 450 kids that are mine. And when they come in the program, I treat them like they're mine. Hey, pick up at the trash. What are you doing? Don't be a knucklehead. Come on, jackwagon. You know, they're my kids in the same way that the one sitting outside, I treat her in the same way. So when, you know, everybody shows love in a different way, my love language is I give you my attention, I give you my focus, and you get all of me. You don't get part of me. And so, you know, again, the best moments for me is when I get the phone call of, hey, I'm going to Young Harris. There are people listening right now. They have no idea where Young Harris is, right? But when the kid calls me and said he's going to Young Harris, I'm shedding a tear, right? Because I know that that's changed his life. Not his week, not his month, changed his life and his whole trajectory of where he's going to end up. And if he never calls me and says thank you, I don't care. That's not what it's about. I know that I've tried to help him along the way, and then at some point in time, he's going to pass that forward.
Well, the person that you're most qualified to help is the person that you used to be.
That's right. That's right.
And, you know, again, you're basically every time one of those 100 kids a year inks that deal and they've committed to go play 4 more years of baseball, 2 to 4 more years of baseball, it brings back the feelings of when you got that call. That you were going to get to keep doing it.
It's funny you say that. I hadn't thought about this in a long time. So I'm 48 years old. I guess I was probably 17 at the time. The very first college call that I got was from a small school that I did not go, was Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas.
Okay. And
so I say that not because that's, you know, I'm anything great or whatever, but I say that moment in time, I'm 48 years old, and I can tell you exactly where I was. I know exactly the school that called me, but it was that validation in that moment of, okay, I can do this. Yeah, you know, as a baseball player yourself, you have those moments that you know, we all have that imposter syndrome where we're like, all right, I'm going to fake it till we make it. I got this bravado that most college athletes have in general. But I mean, I could tell you the first day that I got my first hit in college baseball, the first double, I could tell you exactly who the pitcher was, where it was. Johnstown, Pennsylvania, hit a double off the left center field fence, got a double, and going to the plate, there was a guy named Peachy Ricardo. He goes, hey, hit a home run. I said, Palakaye, which means to the street. Yeah. And there was a street right back. And I kind of laughed. I said, no, I just hit it off the net. And sure enough, I hit it off the net. And so it's kind of like those little things that there are those little moments of validation that I think that we all have. And I don't care if you're walking into a boardroom for the first time, if you're walking onto a field for the first time, if you're walking into a job interview for the first time, you've got that little moment inside you because we're all human and going like, all right, I can do this.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Confidence is a skill, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a skill. Well, like, so 12 years. How many teams? You mentioned some numbers earlier. I want to make sure we catch those. So Titan Sports Academy. How many teams do you have? And going, I guess we're in the middle of the season right now.
Yeah.
2025.
So
how many teams?
We have 34 teams organizationally.
Wow.
About 450 kids. Let's see. We have Titan Sports Academy. We'll say that's the umbrella. So under that umbrella, you're going to have work with Ryan Klesko and the Brave Scout team, which is really, really cool.
Okay.
We also have the Ranger Scout team. We have Titans baseball. We have Wahoo's baseball. We also have Stars Fast Pitch. So we've got a couple different, what you would say, franchises under that. And then back to your thing earlier. So 2015, 2016, we buy the land, roughly about 4 acres. And when I walked into the building, it was just an open box. It was a 90 by 90 open box, brick outside, and it was a 2-story building. I think it was built for churches.
Okay.
And so it became the baseball church. If I had to rename it, I should name it the baseball church.
That's cool.
So, but anyway, walk in and it's all open, and I was like, man, there's windows up there. We should be able to put in a second floor. So I brought in an engineer. He's like, yeah, we can put in a second floor. It'll be a little tricky, blah blah blah. We'll figure it out. So we put in a second floor. We double our square footage, so we have roughly 16,200 square feet inside.
Wow.
Upstairs, we have a 90 by 90 open arena net, so the cages kind of pull back. You can take ground balls. And all of the cages, the magic depth, if you're ever doing your own facility, is 70 feet is a magic number. That's what it need to be long. The reason why is that I could put my 60-foot 6 mounds. You can throw bullpens in there, but also you can throw live with pitcher, and that gives you the depth for your home pitcher mound, home plate. Gives you depth enough to have the catcher, and the catcher can be far enough back for a hitter to hit. So 70 feet took me a lot. Again, stupid tax. I spent a lot of time figuring that out. So I'm passing that along. So 70 feet's a magic number. But anyway, we have 5 wide, and you can go live on live, and we can pull all the nets back. And then downstairs, got bathrooms. We have a lobby, and in our lobby, I've got 2 daughters. And so when they were little, you would go to like ballet and dance. And what I noticed, you go to those ballet, those dance places or agility, and they do all the tumbling and stuff. Your parents look through the window. You don't get to come back. You were strictly looking through the window. And I was like, man, as a baseball guy, I admired this because, you would have dad want to sit by the chair right beside the cage, in Johnny's ear. And I was like, Dad, give him a break. I got this. You're paying me for this half hour, not you. So I noticed that. I was like, all right, when I have my own place, there was a lot of things. I've had a lot of those minds and moments in my head. If I have my own place, I'm going to do this. So downstairs, we have a closed circuit TV to cameras upstairs so that the parents can sit in the lobby, watch practice, and not have to go upstairs.
Let's go.
And so my line to everybody, if the parents go upstairs, by the time you get upstairs and lay eyes on your own kid, you've walked by 5 different signs that say you're not supposed to be there.
Love
it. But at any rate, no, it's great. And then so downstairs we have our store, which when you talked about a lot of our brands and where we do all our own spirit wear, we do it for local communities and companies as well as obviously our teams. And then we have 3 more cages downstairs where we do most of our private training. We have Top Velocity, which is a full-on weight room. Just started that, so it's exciting. And so we have all the guns and the trinkets and toys and all the stuff for measurables and that type of thing. And then outside, the field was finished. It's very important you know the date on this. The field was finished July 1st of 2019.
Okay.
And the reason why that was, at that time, we had probably 17 or 18 teams. Well, the reason why that was such a poignant date, if you'll fast forward about 8 months, there was this thing called COVID that started in March of 2020. Mm-hmm. Well, in our world in Atlanta and most places, that most of your travel teams, they use, municipal parks, county parks and rec. Well, everything was shut down. But because our field was private, they couldn't shut us down.
That's right.
So I was able to continue to work with our guys. And so one of the little things that we did during COVID, which she caught the brunt of it as well, is that we would go live on Instagram and we would do basically PE for home, and I had a local CrossFit gym that would program us workouts to do with no weight. And so I would do it, she would do it, and we would invite in a different kid, and we'd do it Monday through Friday. And so people, they would laugh at me. I'm like exhausted, falling down, I'm out of breath, couldn't keep up or whatever. But we did that every day. And so because we had our own field and we had our own indoor, I could still work during COVID because we were a private entity and not using the county parks and rec. Mm-hmm. From that moment forward, we doubled. Yeah, so we doubled. And it was, and to, I had said earlier, it was in that moment I was like, listen, I don't know if all of this is going to be swept away. But if it's going to be swept away, I'm going to make sure that I go down being dedicated to the people that I care about most. And I had a conversation with our staff, and I was like, hey, guys, I got salary for 6-8 weeks. Mm-hmm. After 6-8 weeks, we're done. It is what it is. I said, but I'm going to pay you for 6-8 weeks. But if I'm going to pay you, every day I need somebody to have a drill. I need you to do something, teach kids at home what to do. And so, we did the drill where I remember it yet like yesterday. I was like, put a baseball in your hand, put a sock over your hand, put duct tape around your wrist, and throw the ball in the sock, and you can play catch with yourself. And so like little stuff like that and throwing balls off the wall and teaching kids how to play wall ball, because a lot of these kids never played wall ball. And some of those things that we went through that process through COVID. And from that, and looking back, there was a lot of things that we did well, a lot of things we've done wrong. But I kind of going back to COVID, I think that was one of the things that, people really recognize, all right, these guys are in it for the right reasons.
Dude, I love that story. And that's the first time I'd actually ever heard that story, because a lot of times, today's circumstances define who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer as a faith-based guy that God doesn't put something on your plate that he doesn't believe you can handle, that, you know what I mean, that you're ready for. And, you probably caught some flack for going against the grain during COVID.
I caught a lot of flack.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? You're a super spreader. You're going to kill everybody. And to your point is, I was saying, we were out on the field, and I'd coached a 16-year-old team at the time, and our field's only 220, so it's not that big. But hey, it's outside. You got to take what you got. So we're shooting balls out of a thing called Fungo Man, and it's automating ground balls, and I got people hitting and throwing and all this stuff, and there's nobody in the parking lot, just the kids out on the field. And of course, everybody's got their 6 feet of separation, and a patrol car pulls in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, my stomach stinks. I'm like, oh goodness, I'm going to be on News 9 tonight in Atlanta. This guy's a super spreader. I'm going to be like burned in effigy. So patrol car pulls up, and I'm like, just go talk to him. I was thinking to myself, I just got to go talk to him. Let's get it over with. If I'm going to get arrested, let's just go quietly, and maybe they can still have a good afternoon. Mm-hmm. So I go over and, hey, sir, how can I help you? He's like, man, I'm just so happy to see people outside. And it was like, had that moment of like, oh, okay, I'm going to be okay today. Mm-hmm. But again, I think in all things, and this is all things in life, if you're doing what you feel is the right thing for people, and the people you're surrounded by, if you hurt some people's feelings along the way, then that's just going to have to be the casualties of war. You're just going to have to kind of bear that one.
Chance, just that thing about you is why you're successful.
Well, thank you.
That's it. That's just it. That's why you could have chose anything and you'd win, just because of that being at the root grain of everything that you do, right? Well, I remember, I was always cheering for you, just because I knew you before Titan Sports Academy. I knew you after. I always loved getting to see you come in. You'd always come up to the press box, say hello to Dad.
Yeah.
Always upbeat, having a good time. Your teams are always very competitive.
Well, thank you.
It was always a cool thing. And then I saw you building that field and knowing what Dad went through to go to that field. And we're in the process of working on some more here in Nashville. It was just impressive to know how much money you had to raise, and
$325,000.
God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And talk about a blessing. I had a guy that donated us the money, and then he basically allowed us to do it like you do a mortgage. He banked it for us, where he put out the money, we built the field. I maybe quite possibly spent the most expensive water quality unit. And when I was going through the process, people were like, why are you spending this money, so much money on a baseball field? And I'm like, it would be a bad investment if I was doing it for 5 years. I'm not doing it for 5 years. I'm doing it for 25. Mm-hmm. And when you have the proper horizons in all things, business included, investments are just that. If it's an expense because it's worth not anything in 5 years, now it really comes down to ROI. Well, now when I'm looking at 25, man, the ROI on this thing's massive.
That's right.
And so where my field sits, so we finished that building the field in July 1, 2019.
And it's all turf, right?
It's a turf infield, grass outfield. Yep. And again, kind of funny story with that is the one of the builders come to me and he goes, hey, have you looked at doing turf? And I was like, I can't afford it. This guy's already loaning us money. I just can't ask for more. He was like, but when you build an infield, you have to dig down and do all the layers. He's like, if you do turf, it's going to be a little more expensive, not that more. So I said, give me a couple quotes. I went back to my guy. He's like, yeah. And to this guy, talk about a godsend. Just absolutely incredible. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right. I have been on that field to probably do maintenance since 2019, maybe 4 times.
Wow.
And it's picking up trash. It is, talk about one of the smarter things that I've done. And I've done a lot of dumb things, but that was definitely one of the smart things. Turf infield, grass outfield, somebody cut the grass. It's been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And as far as where we're at in the year right now, you guys are knee deep in 2025 season. However, the 2026 season is coming.
Yes,
it's coming. So you guys are about to be filling rosters for the fall of 2025 and the spring of 2026.
Yes. It's coming up fast. June, July is kind of our big time where I think this podcast is going to be kind of hitting the ground there. So TitansNation.net, and think of us.
That's right.
And so, it's exciting time because as you go through these kind of evolutions of a business owner, as well as just kind of figuring out what, it used to be, I remember we were having a staff meeting just on Monday and I was saying, 3 years ago, I wanted to have 85 or 100 teams. That'd be a lot. But the problem with that comes with, a lot more headache. And then are you really losing kind of the quality of what we're trying to do? And so we've kind of figured out as our kind of the strike zone number that we're trying to hit is about 32 to 34 teams. And that's where we're at. And so what we're looking for is as we start to move forward is really kind of focus on the quality of those teams and go deeper with our players and really help them through that process. And so, as we talk about, we want to build a walkway from T-ball to Major League Baseball. At any point in time, everybody's going to step off of that sidewalk.
Yeah.
100%. 100% of all kids go professional in something other than their sport at some point in time in their life, period, point blank, in a discussion. So if we can try to use that sidewalk as a vehicle to teach young people how to be successful at life, boom. Rest of it really doesn't matter. And so I don't care if you're playing college baseball or softball. The process in my mind of going through travel baseball and travel softball is a mechanism for us to learn how to win, how to be accountable. Guess what? When you don't pick up the buckets we leave 33 balls in Charleston, South Carolina, you work every one of them back off. And the guys on that team, if they ever seen this, they would know all 33 things that we had to get to do to get those balls back. But you start to learn some life skills that allow for you in today's age, I think that really set you apart. People make fun of me. Oh, you're 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late. That's what we live by. And so when I was running behind, because Central Time and Eastern Time is real, I messed that up. It's on me. Holy cow. You're talking about embarrassment, but it's 10 minutes early or 5 minutes late. And we live by that. There's attention to those details that really start to set people apart and that really allow you to kind of understand who you're about and what you're about. So when, it used to be your last name meant something. And so when you didn't keep your word or something happened, well, you just didn't own that as a person. You own that as your family. I think in today's age, you start to think that way. It really starts to set you apart from your peer group and allows you to really be able to rise in a way that, a lot of people just, it's not there now.
Love that. Are you ready to take your brand digital? At HitLab Creative, we don't just make content. We build your digital foundation from the ground up. So whether you're launching a podcast, creating scroll-stopping social media content, or building a website that actually converts, we connect all the dots. Podcast production, CRM systems, content strategy, data analytics, branding, it's all under one roof. Because in today's world, content without strategy, it's just noise. And you're here to make an impact. So if you're ready to launch smarter, grow faster, and create with a purpose, it's time to team up with the HitLab. Visit hitlabstudio.com/studio-time and let's build something that lasts. Because the HitLab is where digital strategy meets data-driven content creation. For those families tuning in, they're like, I wonder if is he talking to me? Is he talking to me? Should my son be a Titan? All right. So first of all, we mentioned the 86,400. You got a hashtag OneTat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's OneTat?
So the funny thing, again, another story, OneTat came from our own players. And I think that's kind of why it means so much to me. So in 2007, I had a former player, I'll leave names out of this, but former player, he was playing at University of Florida. He goes home over break to Boston. He's flying from Boston back to Florida, connecting flight at Atlanta, because if you fly anywhere, at least in the Southeast, you connect to Atlanta. If you were going to hell, you would connect to Atlanta, basically. So he comes to Atlanta. That we have, of course, if there's any ice, everybody in the South loses their mind. So he comes and his flight gets canceled from Atlanta going to Florida. So back then, 2007, 2008, all the kids, college players in particular, college kids, they were on Facebook. So he gets on Facebook, rattles around, and is like, hey, any of my old former Titan teammates, come. So one of his former teammates that was on a 16U Titans team goes to the airport, picks him up, gets him to the bus station. So he takes the bus from Atlanta to Gainesville. And so from that, the players through them started saying one tap, once Titan, always Titan. So it's evolved into a whole thing within our organization. It couldn't be more proud of it. And I think it really embodies, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than them, And so, I tell our guys all the time, you stand on the shoulders of the guys that came before you. You see further, and people see you not for what you did. They see you for what people before you came. So when you wear that uniform, you're now helping not only yourself, but the people that are coming behind you. So I say that uniform. So back to the story, kind of going full circle, is that same uniforms that I opened in that box in the spring of 2004.
Yeah.
I still have the same uniforms. I still have them upstairs. And so the only time that I bring out those uniforms are for national championship games.
Oh, wow.
We've lost one.
Wow.
We've lost one national championship. So we're, in that particular uniform for my teams, we're 9-1 in that uniform. Actually, we lost. The very first one was in the Sandlot World Series.
I remember that.
We lost.
I was there.
Yes.
I was still working. I was working there.
Oh yeah, that was the only national championship game that we ever lost. Was in those uniforms. We were 9-0 after that.
Wow, and dude! Now that you say that,
because it was down in like Murfreesboro, wasn't it?
Yeah. I remember hearing that story about that you guys had a championship. It was like
that's the only time we wore them, and so the whole thing was Titans wear pinstripes on Sundays, and so because I had to come up with a reason. Back up. The uniforms are those old high school uniforms that are like thick. Well, now everybody wears the thin stuff and it's breathable and it's cute. So I had to come up with some way to make people be fired up about wearing this hot, heavy uniform. Well, the only time we wear that uniform is national championship, saying, buddy, when you break that uniform out, it's a big deal. They don't care how hot and heavy it is.
Man.
And so the other cool thing that we've done is inside the uniform on the numbers, we'll write the last names of all the people that have worn that jersey and won a national championship.
Oh, wow.
So when you pull that thing on, it's not you just fighting with.
Damn, that's cool, dude. Cool. That is literally history right there. That's you're capturing all the elements that make people want to be a part of something bigger than that's cool. It's those are the little things that matter, That's literally what it's all about. So, all right. So, and the age groups are 8U to 18U, right?
8U to 18. We've got kids from 8 to 18. We got a youth age coordinator. With our new advent of Top Velocity, that'll be instituting into our program quite a bit. So we're excited about that.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Again, I'm a storyteller.
I remember Top Velocity. I saw it. It came about a couple years ago. I saw Brent. All of a sudden, the stuff he's talking about, I'm like, man, this really makes a lot of sense. I like it. I started following him.
Yeah.
It was really neat. It's a big deal.
Yes. And so what's interesting is everybody kind of comes to these things in their own way. So I have 2 girls. God was fair. He gave me 2 girls. He didn't give me boys, and they're tougher than any of you guys. So if you're not gonna stir them, I promise you. So so my oldest that's here, I can brag on her. She's my kid. So
yeah,
at 12, I would argue she was undoubtedly probably top 10 pitchers in the country. She was dominant. I think in softball, pitchers pitch these stupid number of innings. So she threw probably like 240 innings in a year and struck out like 320. I mean, it was asinine. Averaging almost 2 strikeouts per inning. It was really crazy. Stupid numbers. So she we go from that and like, all right, she's getting a lot of accolades, and I'm like, hey, I own an academy. I know how to do this. My kids won a top in the country. I got it figured out. So at 13, she's still really successful. 14, pretty successful. And the field starts closing the gap. And I'm like, we're doing all the same stuff that we were doing before. Like, what's going on? So at 15, kind of flat lines again. And she's busting her tail. She's doing and I feel terrible because she's doing everything I'm asking her to do. And she's always a competitor, just a bulldog. And I love that about her. But just didn't have that oomph when it comes to some of the velocity. And I'm like, man, what am I missing? So I go on, as a parent, we all just like, hey, we'll do anything for our kids. So I start doing investigation. I'm looking, and we start lifting weights, and we're lifting weights. She's getting stronger, but she's not seeing any velocity gains. So we get hooked up with a group out of Chicago, and they are specific training to softball. It's called a group called OGX. They do a great job, but they start having to do very specific lifts and player performance training that's specific to her movement that she was doing. 18 months, she jumps like 6 miles an hour. And
Wow.
so she's probably at that time 58, 59. 18 months later, she's sitting 62, 63. She's touching some 64, 65. So for those that are like listening and don't quite understand, like baseball terms, that would be from somebody going from like 83 to 91, 92. It's just a massive jump. Drastic. And so, of course, as a dad, I'm fired up. I'm excited about it. And she's put in all the work. And I get a younger daughter that's now going to get that whole process as well. But then it dawns on me, hits me in the face, like as a business owner, like, holy crap, I've missed it. I've completely missed this gap of training in my program. And as a dad, I'm happy about it because now I've figured it out. But as a business owner, I'm like, oh, I've got all these kids that are in my program and we're missing a huge, and if I'm supposed to be the expert, these parents got no shot, right? I mean, they don't know what I know, and I'm sitting here saying that, it used to be, hey, go hit, go field, go throw, and I'm like, dude, you need to go lift. You got to go lift. You got to build a bigger engine. So through that, created another crusade, I guess you would say, in my world of like, I've got to be able to fill this gap within my business. As an entrepreneur, there's a problem, we got to solve it. And so we start looking, and there's a lot of incredible programs, and this is not to disparage any of those, but you've got Driveline, you've got Tread, you've got Florida Baseball Armory, you've got the Texas Baseball Ranch. All of these are incredible stuff. But with dealing with travel baseball and baseball and softball, kids from, we'll call it prepubescent to going through puberty, that 13, 14-year-old range for baseball guys, that's a tough age because you're awkward, your body's growing, you don't know how to do a lot of things. And so one of the things that Top Velocity brought to the table was two things. One, from a very scientific way of looking at it, very analytical, they have reverse engineered how to throw 90 miles an hour. So let me explain that a little bit. So basically they have like 5,000 guys in their database, and they will say, all right, you're 15 years old and you're X height, weight, all of these kind of things. And they put you in the database. We do an assessment that's like 80 points, and only one of those is how hard you throw a baseball. It's all the way down to your ankle. It's called dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, plantar, you put your toe in a plant. Anyway, so they measuring the range of motion from ankles, knees, hip, internal rotation, shoulder hip separation, all of the things we've heard, but very, very granular stuff down to vertical jump, long jump, lateral jump, all these intangibles. And from there, that goes into their AI engine, and then it spits back to you the top 10 things that you need to improve on to get you to 90 mile an hour based off all of the data they have. So for the last 22 years, me and you are baseball guys. You bring me your 15-year-old son. Is like, hey, I want to get him to throw 90. Perfect. Well, he's going to lift a lot of weights. Got to lift a lot of heavy stuff. We want him to be mobile. We got to, make sure he's stretched out. And then we're going to throw long toss, and we're going to work on his delivery. And yeah. And you're like, okay, well, when's he going to throw 90? I don't know. We do all these things. He's going to get better. Yeah, he's going to get better. But I couldn't tell you exactly what he needed to do. And I think that's where Top Velocity has kind of separated himself. Exactly what a player needs to do to be able to get to that 90. But their approach in doing it is a holistic approach. It's not just throwing plyo balls against a wall. It's, it's front squats. It's, it's a holistic Olympic lifting. There's med balls where you're throwing two balls with throwing 2-pound balls with two hands. It's a very different way than some of the other ones are doing it. But for the youth athlete, I just really, really love the idea that it was a holistic approach to health and agility and movement. And the byproduct of that was just velocity.
I got to say, in my own, keeping up with it on my own, the science, it's pretty irrefutable. It's pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so, so with that, that's how I came about Top Velocity. So now the next step is, all right, now I know what the answer is. Now, how do I do that? So there wasn't a Top Velocity Kennesaw in the Atlanta area. So we opened up Top Velocity Kennesaw. So Top Velocity Kennesaw is open to anybody and everybody on planet Earth. If you're in an area and you're listening to my voice, love to have us, topvelocityknn.com. And you can book a call. Love to have you do that. Within our program, we've instituted, and I believe, and I think I'm a big, huge advocate of when people say things, that's one thing. I watch more what you do than what you say. So within my Titans program, we've instituted across the board for all of our baseball teams, 14 and up, it's just part of what we do. And so if I own Top Velocity Kennesaw and I didn't do that, I think that people from the outside should look at me, well, if it's so good, why didn't he make his own teams do it? I jumped that and like, I believe in it so much. All of my own teams, it's mandated. If you're going to be in our program, you're going to do this. But in Top Velocity Kennesaw, we're open to anybody and everybody, whatever jersey you wear.
Gotcha. So you do not have to be a Titan to be a part of Top Velocity Kennesaw,
That's
right?
correct.
So that's awesome. And talk to me, just to give Brent a shout out. I mean, it's really cool. Like it's cool what he did. And I remember it just, for me, I was like, that's a cool facility, but it started out like it was right in the movement when I first saw him with like, the Bat Bros and the King of JUCO and all those guys, Trevor Bauer and all them were making videos. All of a sudden I saw Top Velocity and his videos were just so neat because he would zoom in on his foot and place a certain way, and then you look at the camera and say, no, and then he put his foot a certain way, and he'd be like, thumbs up. Yeah. And he'd do the motion. So, I fell in love with it. I thought it was really neat.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. We've got to meet him, obviously, worked together through opening this franchise, so we're excited about it. I know we're looking at dates for the summer, obviously, with Atlanta and Perfect Game and PBR. Tons and tons and tons of teams coming in. So we're looking to be able to launch some dates to be able to do some camps and do some assessments for people that are coming in town. So it's a exciting time for that.
So that's how Top Velocity Kennesaw is playing in with the academy, right? So that's pretty cool. All right, so B&B Custom Creations. Yeah. This one is the wild card for me.
It really is.
Because this is the one that Top Velocity is for anybody, whether you're in the Titan program or not. But B&B is for it's not just sports.
No. So the B&B is my two daughters are Brooke and Baylor. So when you can't come up with a name, you just use your kids' initials and just roll with it.
Well, you already came up with two names. Well, I have to get two more.
Right? And so it's B&B Custom Creations. And so again, as an entrepreneur, everything starts with a problem and let's come up with an answer. So rolling back to about 2017, when we get into our new building, I looked at my invoice of what I'd paid in a year for screen print. And it was like $18,000 we had paid for screen print that 1 year for coaches' shirts and, uniforms and just all kinds of different stuff. And I go, there's got to be a better way. Mm-hmm. And so I start digging and digging. I was like, oh man, you can do like screen print transfers. And like when I was a kid, I know I'm older than a lot, but you would have those vinyl and it would be like super heavy and you hated it and you would sweat and your numbers would be like sweating on your back. But it's not that way anymore. It's literally the same material, quote say liquid, that they use for screen print, but they put it in a different like chemicals or whatnot to suspend it on the transfers, and then you press it on the shirt and it works incredible. So we started to figure out that again through the science, and again a lot of stupid tax along the way, and so I would buy a heat press, and Angie Bill, who's my general manager, she would look at me like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, dude, we're going to do this. And she was like, Chance, we don't know what we're doing. I was like, nobody knows what they're doing when they start out. We're just amateurs. We're going to figure this out.
That's right.
And so we started doing, because again, you would want to, hey, I want to have spirit wear for our people. And, you would order, shirts and you think they're going to sell, and then they would sit there for months on end. And so I had vision. I'm from North Carolina originally. And so you go to Myrtle Beach, that's like our version of the Redneck Riviera, or Panama City. And when you were a kid, they would have like the airbrush paintings up on the wall, and they would number them all 1, 2, 3, and all the way to like 99. And it was like, all right, I want number 37 on this shirt. So we did the same concept with our screen print, is that we would have them all numbered and like, hey, I want number 17. And so when we bought stock, everything's blank. Grab a shirt. I want number 17. Press it on there. Here you go, buddy. And you have your shirt in 30 seconds. So that was kind of the basic concept of how it started. And then that started growing and growing and growing. From there, we started getting, direct with all of our manufacturers. Great buddy of mine, Todd Locklear, Under Armour, got us set up with Under Armour. Mizuno, Oakley, Lululemon, you named all of these people that we're direct with. But that's kind of how it started. And then now it's kind of taken on a life of its own, where it started kind of doing our spirit wear and uniforms for our teams. Now we're open for business for everybody, and that's kind of where we're at. Just, we're needing someone to take us to the next level. As you say, I got a lot of irons in the fire. So somebody that's a salesperson out there, talk to me, brother.
So B&B is as you're growing, you're expanding staff.
Yep.
I'm looking for some looking for some folks probably with experience in the business and some relationships, right?
Yeah,
That's probably what you're
looking for people that really be able to that we would be able to help us connect with their network to be able to that be interested to get on the ground floor or something. So that's kind of where we're at.
With the scope of with the lay of the land and the scope of the world today, with all the trade stuff going on and everything else, you definitely want to have options.
Yeah.
When you're looking at those things, and honestly, man, like, when you're getting custom stuff made, like, if it's one of those companies been around for a long time, a lot of times you get stuck in a long line, dude. Yeah. And that's hard. So, like, sometimes working with somebody that is, I won't say new, but newer.
Yeah. I think to your point is that I tell everybody you can get anything in all walks of life. You can write this down. You can get anything in all walks of life in two of three ways. You can always get them in two, never three. You can get them fast. You can get them cheap. You can get them good quality. Pick any two. You don't get all three.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so that's the best, especially big in the apparel world of, I can give you cheap and fast. Not going to be good quality.
Mm-hmm.
You want a good quality and fast? Sure ain't going to be cheap. Right?
That's right.
And so helping people understand that. And I think, and that's also why we partnered with the best. You're talking about Lululemon. You're not going to, put trash on a $100 garment.
That's right.
You've got Under Armour, Under Armour jersey retail. It's $150. It's going to be great quality. It's going to look right. So we're looking for clients and those people that we partner with that are doing the best and that, not just wanting to throw something against the wall.
And that's a big deal, because think about it, man. The stuff they give out for free at the stadium at your favorite NFL, MLB, or NBA or hockey team like that, they're all size extra large. They're all Gildan, lowest line, 100% cotton. Yeah. You're probably never going to wear it, honestly, after you wash it once. It's not going to look the same. Like, you got to get good, like that high-end stuff.
Yeah.
You got to get the high-end stuff. And it seems like, dude, in the world that we live today, everything's custom.
Yes.
Everything's
and
custom.
So it's funny because it used to be that I would want to get stock pants, stock jersey. Yeah, it's cheaper, it's faster, whatever. Now, stock's not always stock. And so if I'm ordering, for example, we're ordering uniforms for 300 jersey tops. Well, if they say, hey, we're out of adult small, well, that's a problem. Like if I ordered 300, of these jerseys and they don't have a adult small and they're completely out and they're not making any more of that royal color, well, that's a big problem. I can't just tell 20 kids, oh yeah, you have to wear a medium.
Right.
That's not going to work well for the parents and the people that are buying the uniform. So custom and sublimation and the things that go along with that have really taken the forefront, and it's much faster than it used to be. It used to be 8-12 weeks. Now it's, now we're talking days.
Finding the right health plan can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Backed by over 12 years of experience and more than 20 national and local awards, Team Hyder is here to help you navigate your options and choose a plan that fits your family's needs and your budget. So whether you're looking for individual coverage, family plans, or even Medicare options, Team Hyder brings expert guidance with heart. Visit teamhyder.com today to schedule your consultation and get the coverage that you deserve. Click the link in our bio or head over to teamhyder.com to find a health plan that actually works, not just for you, but with you. Which is cool too, because all the fans, the moms, the families get spirit wear for their kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, the number of things that we've started doing. So one of the cool things that we started doing for cheer teams, fundraisers, is that we would allow people to do sponsors on the shirt. So think of, you would have your logo on the front. It could be, the Hit Lab or whatever it is. And then on the back, you would have your number. But then around the number, they could sell sponsorships for your individual shirt. You wouldn't have to have it on. So you would have 15 kids all have their own unique number and all their unique names on the back, and that would all be sublimated. We could turn that in like 10, 15 days. So, and so that shirt costs, our retail price on that's $32. Meanwhile, for every name they put on there, you may sell them for $10. So it's a great fundraiser for the kids. So you got a youth team or a high school team, they sell it for $10. They sell 20 names, $200, $30 for the shirt. You just made $170 for your cause. And so a lot of those things we started working with people, again, because of what we do, we understand the need of having those type of things and be able to turn them quickly.
All I'm hearing is that, one of the toughest things about a baseball facility, and if it's not South Florida, California, where the weather's good year round, is there's 2 to 3, maybe 4 months a year where the parking lot's just empty.
Yeah.
And now you guys are rocking and rolling year round through the Top Velocity program, which is fantastic. That I can't think of a better off season platform to.
Yeah, we don't have an
through.
off season, so it's varying degrees and up and downhill, and how busy you are, and you choose your hard. And just get better at hard is kind of what we've decided.
Yeah.
But to your point of it is that in today's world, the baseball player and the softball player, it's just not there's very few freak athletes that can just show up in that season and then they'll go to basketball, then they'll go to football, then they'll come back to baseball and they're just the best. It's very, very difficult in today's world to do that. I wasn't good enough. Remember, I wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest. It wasn't me. And so, we serve who we once were, as you said earlier. But so, now having the top velocities allows us to train in off seasons to really get prepared for that season. So now that, we really have a plan, and that's again, where Top Velocity's done a great job. They have an app. You literally every single day have something to do. We have coaches that have what we call, and in this space, we're calling them accountability partners. Just because, it's a coach, but hey, you weren't at lift. Did you get that lift in? Where are we at with that number? And so it's more of an evolutionary process. It's not a finish line. It's really just a journey. And so, you've got that, you've got your end season, and then, there's always something going on because you get, as we said earlier, you get to December. Well, there's not games going on, but I got to be training, and then I got to get uniforms. In January, I got to get ready for spring training or, your high school tryouts and that stuff. And then the high school kids go away, then the little kids start. And so, it's, I've got a great staff, and I got great people that are used to, dealing in chaos.
That's all. Dude, that's awesome. I want to make sure if they're, if we're talking to a certain person, they know we're talking to them. So obviously any business owners, team leaders, teams out there, clubs, fundraiser stuff, but is there a minimum order? If somebody wants one item.
Yeah, one item is going to be pretty tough. I mean, basically you're looking at 6 or more, for uniforms, for jerseys, for things of that nature. What we like to partner with are, say, for example, a team, it could be an independent team, doesn't need to be a Titans team, it could be anybody. And they say, hey, we want to offer our parents spirit wear. Great. You send me your logos, we set you up a couple things, they go online and order it, and we ship it off. You're good to go. And that could be in Spokane, Washington, or that could be in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
I love it. Is there chances we get to the end of this sucker? Is there what have we missed? Dude, we've covered a ton of stuff today.
Yeah,
we've covered a ton of stuff today. Is there anything that we missed concerning Titan Sports Academy, Top Velocity, or B&B, or even any of your other, any of your staff, family, coaches, anything like that? Anything else we missed?
The only thing that I would say that we probably missed, we haven't really talked about school board stuff. And
congratulations, by the way, that's brand new.
Thank you. Yeah, it's literally 2 months, and it's been an interesting endeavor. Obviously, going into a school board and being a business guy, you look at it from a very, very different perspective. My very first board meeting, I asked for a forensic audit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So needless to say, I think that turned, but here's what I would say. We have an absolutely incredible county. We have an incredible school system. We literally, me, my wife, and our children, who I love dearly, and you do the same. You do anything for your kids and your family. And we moved to our county for the school system.
Right.
It was that important to us. And so now getting an opportunity to serve on the school board has been an honor. But going through it is just, we want to make sure that, every dollar is being spent prudently. And it's not to say anything's being done wrong. I think the way that I looked at this was, many times people hear the word audit and they feel like, oh, there's wrongdoing. No. The opposite could also be true, is that if we show an audit and we show everything out, it's show how great, wonderful you guys are. Mm-hmm. So it's not always egregious. And I think that, I've kind of been tagged with, oh, well, you're stirring up a storm. Well, stirring up a storm is a way of seeing it, but I'm looking at it as that, through the light of day, many things get seen and get seen well. And I think it's an opportunity for us to showcase ourselves and how well we're doing as a county, not really something that is a derogatory at all. So it actually passed with a 5-2 vote. So
let's go.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time for that. And, we got a lot of irons in the fire. I got a senior that's going to be moving to Nashville. So we're excited about that in August. And, B&B,
Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. Got a freshman, and the funny thing is, I say this in all due humor, but also being truthful, is that as I said earlier, first year and a half, I didn't pay myself when I was doing Titans, and so my wife, she's the real knucklehead and the real smart lady in the family. So she works for Wellstar. She actually manages 6 different healthcare parks and manages about $1 billion of business. So, when it comes to this, so we have 2 alphas in the house, and it's awesome. And I give her kudos, and she's been incredible.
That is incredible. Getting your daughter that's out there is going to quite the program at Lipscomb University.
Yeah.
That softball program is top notch.
Man, what a blessing, and it's funny. So Brian Ryman, who's the director of baseball operations at Lipscomb, I've known for 20 years being in the baseball world. I did not know that his wife was the softball coach.
Isn't that cool?
I had no idea. And it wasn't like I was soliciting it. She was 14 at the time. We happened to be, my wife's family's from just south of Nashville, Spring Hill. And so we happened to be in the area. I called Brian and said, hey, I've got my daughter, I want to show her around. We're starting to look at campuses. This was the second school that we went and looked at. And so he's like, well, she plays softball. I was like, yeah, here's her Twitter. She's fine. She's pretty good. He's like, oh, dude, she can play a little bit. I was like, yeah, I like, trying to be incognito about it. So he gives us a ride, tour around campus. He can NCAA because he is a friend for 20 years. So not to get anybody in trouble. So he shows us around campus, and I can never forget this as a father. I think you can kind of attest to this. So we get to the end of it, and he says, we'll take care of your little girl.
Wow.
Right? That was it. That was it.
Wow.
For me.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes that's a cool moment.
Yeah. So going through the whole process, of course I didn't know anything that's where we're going to end up. But so you go all of the places, and she was like, okay. I was like, all right, her name is Brooke. All right, what's important to you? Well, she wants to do a pre-med. She's a bit of a weirdo. She's never made a B in her life. So
okay.
Yeah, thank God she's as smart as her mother. So she never made a B. She's like, I want to go to a city. I want to have a female college coach. I want it to be purple. And I'm like, oh, where are we going to find all this? I had no idea Lipscomb had any of these things, or Lipscomb was even a thing. And so, she was like, I want to go to Washington at the time. She was in like 8th grade. I'm like, you're not going to Washington. I'm not getting on a flight to go see you play. And so, again, Lipscomb wasn't, part of the equation. They had came and saw her play. Oh, Ryman's your wife. That's kind of cool. Figured it out, and so we go to UCF. She went to LSU. She went to Tennessee. She went to really, really big schools. And we come back and doing this, what I do for a living. I say, all right, baby, let's be clear here. You want to do pre-med, okay? You want a female city, all right, and that's what you want. Okay, I said, but understand, if you say you want to do pre-med and all these things, you're eliminating 97% of all schools in the country. Mm-hmm. She said, that's what I want to do. I said, all right, well, that's my job as a parent, and you go find it. And lo and behold, here's Lipscomb sitting right in front of me.
Wow.
And she wants to do pre-med. Kristen is absolutely incredible. Been there 20 some odd years. We're actually going to see a doubleheader this afternoon, so we're excited about that. And
Brian's wife was a hell of a player too. So we're about the same age.
Yeah.
She was across. I was at Trevecca. She was at Lipscomb, and a lot of my friends were on the softball team. Dude, his wife was on a different level. I think she could. I think she
played basketball. I think it did as well.
Volleyball too. I think she was triple.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, like she probably was. If she had been a catcher, she probably would have took my job on the baseball team. Like she was that good. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So it was. It's been crazy, and so. When we committed, I shouldn't say we. When Brooke committed to Lipscomb, very proud. Obviously, as a parent, you're just incredibly proud. But in all things, you kind of know in the back of your head as an adult, like, all right, do we have buyer's remorse? Because there's a lot of places that you commit to, and then you look back and go, man, we should have waited a little longer. Or maybe we should have done this. No question whatsoever. It was the right decision. And I think I'll speak for myself. I think I could speak for Brooke on this, is that we're more committed to Lipscomb today, and now it's been 15, 16, 17 months. She starts there in August, than we were on the day that we committed. And I think that's a complete reflection of who they are as people, how they've treated her, how they conduct themselves. Just outstanding. Can't say enough great things about them.
That is awesome. Hey, pardon this quick interruption, but it's a good one. You're listening to this ad right now, which means someone else could be listening to your ad in this exact spot. That's right. If you've got a business, a brand, a product, a podcast, or even just a message you want people to hear, you should be advertising right here on the Hitstreak. This is the moment, the placement, the audience, and you're already hearing how powerful it is. So don't just listen to ads, run one. Go to nickhyder.com/contact-me or click the link in the show notes to get started. Let's put your brand in the spotlight right where it belongs. Let me hit you with one final one. All right. So as a businessman and as a coach, you learn a lot of the same lessons.
Yeah.
You learn a lot of the same lessons. What, just in the last couple of years, what is, it's a two-part question. All right. So what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned out of all these years that really like kind of stands out for you? Because I'm asking questions that I know that I could answer myself without even thinking about it. And then also, like, you do a great job on social. Okay. Folks, again, I mentioned it on Instagram, Titan Sports Academy and at Top Velocity Kennesaw on Instagram. He's putting out awesome stuff. You got to check it out, give it a follow, make sure you're connected there. But so two-part question, what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned in coaching and business alike? And then also as far as like what you've learned in the last few months on social.
Sure. So the first one I would say is very striking to me is that Dr. Jordan Peterson wrote the 7 Laws of Life or Rules of Life or something like that. And you're listening to him talk, and through his podcast and some of the interviews that he gives, he'll talk about if we don't combat issues that we're having, then they double in size in your mind. And so one of the things that I can say that I've learned with personnel, things that that we have that I've dealt with personally, business wise, is that if you got a problem, don't wait till next week. Don't wait till next month. Don't just say, well, I'm going to forget about it. Handle that problem now. And if you know that there's a change that needs to happen, then do it now.
That's good.
And I think that's the thing that I've learned as a business owner just over the last, probably 12 to 18 months is that my inclination was to go ahead and jump on it because I basically have a bias to action. Just basically my modus operandi, bias to action. But when you get into business, and I can tell you one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do was let go or fire one of my friends. And and what the sad part in looking back, I felt like I was having to do it. It was really for him.
Yeah.
Because he never would have quit. He's that good of a human being. I needed to let him go so that he could do what was right for him and his family.
That's right.
And he really wasn't invested in us. And it was so hard. And now after going through that process for him, with him, and he's great people, now I look at it and go, oh, you yo-yos, you don't do what you're supposed to. I'm going to belabor that. I'm certainly not going to belabor this. And I think, again, investing into our people in such a dramatic way. I have incredible people to work with us. I never say for me. They don't work for me. They work with me. We build this thing brick by brick, and man, we're just getting started. But I think that, just that whole thing of if you got an issue with somebody, don't wait till next week. Don't wait till next month. Let's handle it now. And because the further you wait, you're just going to multiply that problem. That's the first thing. Second thing, what have I learned from social media? The first thing I would say is just be you. So going into this whole thing, I was part of a business consulting group and obviously dealing with kids and baseball and softball is that, I'd had people like, hey, you need to get on social media. You need to do TikTok. And at the time, I'm like, I'm not doing a dance. I'm not doing a lip sync. I'm not. That's not me. I'm probably closer to grumpy man get off my grass guy than I am to to the dance and the lip syncing. I think chance rants probably needs to be a thing. I think that chance rants needs to be a thing. But I think be the most authentic side of you. And I think for me, one thing that I always had a problem with baseball and business in general is people would tell you half truths. They would just tell you half truths. Oh yeah, that's true. They wouldn't tell you the whole truth of how hard, exhausting, how many nights you would cry yourself to sleep. How just absolutely it takes what it takes. Yeah. In all endeavors, and that's play college softball, play professional baseball, be a business owner, run a podcast. It takes what it takes. And until you're willing to commit that, you're never going to get anything for it. So
Facts.
back to what I was saying about the whole social media thing is it's going to take far longer than you ever think that you're ever going to have to do to get any results. So just go ahead and believe that one. So just put your head down and go to work. And the other thing is just be you. Be the most authentic side of you that you can be. So if you're happy and you're cheerful and your lot in life is to bring joy, man, bring that joy to so many people. If your lot in life is one-liners, I think my lot in life, as I seem to be, have a stick and one-liners and tell stories, then that's what you do. You're going to connect with people that connect with you, and there's still going to be probably a whole large people enough that want to bash you, and we wish them the best as well.
That's right. Well, Chance, anybody, I mentioned titansnation.net. Top Velocity has a website. Say that for me one more time.
It's topvelocity, KENN.com, topvelocityken.com.
topvelocityken.com, and on Instagram at Titan Sports Academy and at Top Velocity Kennesaw. As a matter of fact, on all socials, right? So
yeah, all socials.
You can find you guys on all socials. And if folks wanted to reach out and they had questions, they want to do some business, they want their kid to try out, they want to join Top Velocity, they need some shirts embroidered or silk screened or whatever those terms are in that industry. Is there one hub? Could they just send you a message online, email? How does that work?
You can DM me on all the sites. I've got it in my pocket. I'm going to be able to answer that. You want to email me directly, you can do that, Chance, at titansnation.net.
Awesome. That's awesome, dude. Well, dude, brother, congratulations on all your success. Again, I've been a fan. I've been watching a long time. The cool thing is just coming from the background I come from. Like, I know what it took to do what you've done today, and it's nothing but impressive. And it's something you should be incredibly proud about.
Thank you.
And as always, one tat. One tat, right? That's
Absolutely.
Right. Are you ready to transform your business and unlock new revenue streams? At Processing First, we empower our partners with cutting-edge payment solutions and unparalleled support. We're more than just a one-size-fits-all payment processor. We're relationship-driven. By leveraging our extensive network of banking partners, we match you with the ideal bank to ensure that you receive the most competitive rates and deliver an exceptional experience for both you and your customers. Join a network that values transparency, efficiency, and growth. With our state-of-the-art POS systems and competitive processing rates, you can offer your clients the best in payment technology while boosting your own profitability. Why choose Processing First? Innovative solutions. Stay ahead with our advanced payment processing tools. Dedicated support. Our team is here to assist you every step of the way. Lucrative opportunities. Enhance your income by providing top-tier services to your clients. Don't settle for less. Partner with Processing First and take your business to the next level. Visit processingfirst.com to learn more and join our growing community of successful partners. Well, folks, the owner of Titan Sports Academy, a former professional player, the owner of Top Velocity Kennesaw, the owner of B&B Custom Creations, one of the actors in the 42 movie starring Jackie Robinson, a board member of the Cherokee County School Board, as well as, I forgot in the original intro, author of We Are Titans, which you can get on Amazon, Kindle, or anywhere else. Chance Beam. Chance, thanks for hanging today, baby.
Absolutely, guys. The only thing I'd leave you with this: everybody's got 86,400 seconds in a day. They treat us all the same. Treat them right.
There you have it, folks. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.